Shijiva Gopa Bhatta Saran Hari Haraye Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Hare Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavarinda ki jai, Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Nrsingadeva ki jai, Simhachalam Dhama ki jai, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the Sama devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. So, okay. As Alfred Hitchcock used to say, good evening. You may have noticed I'm a bit sniffly. And so I'm not all here. And my apologies, I was scheduled to continue our discussion this morning, but I wasn't quite up to it. Now I'm a little more up to it, but let's see how we go. Okay, I need to speak more loudly, probably. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yesterday we started to talk about the subject of cows, cow protection and cow care. Let's see, how are we doing with translation? We have some translation there and back there, and here we have also something, and otherwise German translation if anyone wants back here. Salim. No? Yes? So, as I was explaining yesterday morning, I'm essentially talking about the subject of a book which I wrote. It's already published more than 2 years ago, called Cow Care in Hindu Animal Ethics. You might be wondering why Hindu? And as I explained a little yesterday, the reason is I was essentially commissioned to write this book and about Hindu animal ethics. So this was kind of one of the requirements, but as I explained in the beginning of the book, in the introduction, this term Hindu is very problematic. And I kind of suggest that I'm not really concerned about Hindu animal ethics. So even though the book says it's about Hindu animal ethics, I kind of put that on the side. Because my interest, of course, is what we call Krishna consciousness, and as integral we feel to Krishna consciousness is a certain way of seeing things, which is rooted, it has its basis in philosophy or a theology that there are countless living beings and they are in different forms, and all of life is sacred. And to recognize that all life is sacred, one of the ways to do this in a practical way, which benefits human beings in practical ways, is to take care of cows. Srila Prabhupada would say, Prabhupada would say more than once that human civilization begins when cows are protected, which is quite an interesting idea, and it suggests that we don't really have human civilization around the world for the most part. Well, so what else is new, right? Seeing the madness, the violence, the disturbances. So what I try to do in the book is to present a case that cows are good. Cows are to be, essentially, they're worth more alive than dead. But economically, in modern understanding of economics, in our usual ways of calculating economics, that is not so easy to demonstrate with the present economic system. But we want to understand how cows are worth more alive than dead, because they benefit. This is too high. Because their benefit is for well-being of everyone, all human beings and all other beings. There's a essential relationship. There's humans and cows and humans and earth. And there's a unity which is expressed in so much of our literature. And that is what I give a little survey of in the first chapter of the book, which I explained yesterday. It's called The Release of Cosmic Cows. So I thought I'll share a little from that first chapter, listed as second chapter, with you. Because we always say this subject begins with the Rig Veda, and we all say that the foundation of our tradition is the Rig Veda, but ask any devotee what's in the Rig Veda, I don't know. Some kind of hymns to the demigods. Yes, that's true. A lot of hymns praising a lot of different gods, but it's very, very rich, a very rich language and rich in meaning. And so it's engaging to study this literature, the Rig Veda. I mentioned also yesterday, in the Rig Veda, different words for cow is used, but mainly the word go. But altogether, cows are mentioned some 700 times over some 1,000 hymns, more than 1,000 hymns. And But cows are mentioned in many contexts. You can say it talks about cows as the animals we know, but it also talks about cows in very symbolic ways. It's hard to keep this. Okay. Excuse me. So here's a sample. Well, let me start with the first sample that I give. Yeah, now this may be a little challenging to translate from the English. I'll read slowly. Okay, this is in the context of the poet, the so-called author of this particular hymn. He's praising Indra, and he's praising Indra because Indra has killed Rittra. We know about this from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but this is in the Rig Veda is where we first find this story. In obscure ways, it's never really giving a very clear idea of the story. Okay. So Indra wins against Rittra, and what happens as a result is that the cosmic waters, the waters of the universe, are released. The problem has been that this demon, Rittra, who is described as a giant snake, has wrapped around all of the water and sort of like made an obstruction so that the waters of the world are not flowing. That's not mentioned in the Bhagavatam, but that's the original idea. In any case, Indra kills him, and now Indra is he is the big hero in the Rig Veda. Indra has killed Rittra. Ta-dun, ta-dun, ta-dun. This is kind of several times mentioned. And now Indra gets a prize for having done this good deed. And what is this prize that he gets? He gets the soma drink. He gets the nectar. And this is how it's described. Like bellowing milk cows streaming out, the waters went straight down to the sea. So now there's a simile made, a comparison. The water is compared to cows. Cows doing what? Cows mooing, bellowing. Ooh. So there's an image there. Water flowing, cows bellowing. Bring these two ideas together in your mind, and this is something that Rig Veda is doing all the time. It's urging one to expand one's perceptions. Acting the bull, Indra chose for his own the soma. What does that mean? He drank of the pressed soma from the Trikadrukas. Who are the Trikadrukas? No explanation. A little later in the same hymn, there's more discussion about the water and its condition before Indra kills Rittra. And it goes like this. The waters stood still. Their husband, the husband of the waters, was the dasa. Huh? We'll get back to that. Their herdsman, the serpent, Rittra, hemmed in like the cows by the pani. Huh? What is this pani business? Who are the panis? Well, that's another story. So one thing the Rig Veda does is it ties one story to another story. To know this, what's going on here, you need to know what's going on there. To know that, you need to know this. And it's like a whole network of meaning. What was the hidden opening for the water that Indra uncovered after he smashed Rittra? You, Indra, then became the tail of a horse. Indra becomes the tail of a horse. Okay? When he struck his fangs at you, when Rittra, who's a snake, struck his fangs at you, you, Indra, the god alone, you conquered the cows, and, O champion, you conquered the Soma. You set loose the 7 rivers to flow. What is going on here, you may ask? It's a little obscure, maybe. Well, as I said, it's a whole, it's like a woven together complex of words and language. It's like a mandala, as one person put it. It's like a mandala of meaning. And cows are somehow involved. Somehow cows are related to water. Water is a good thing, cows are also a good thing. That's kind of the idea that's being given. Well, that's just a kind of snapshot of one sort of representation of cows in the Rig Veda. Let me share with you another one, which is maybe a little more straightforward. Because this one seems to be about real cows, not figurative cows. And it seems to be a kind of blessing of cows received as a gift. These cows will not be lost, and no thief will take them by deception. No enemy will venture against their meandering course. Meandering means wandering. Those cows with which he, the cow owner, sacrifices and gives to the gods, he keeps company with them as their cowherd for a very long time. No dusty-necked steed gets to them in a cattle raid. In other words, no horses, no men on horses are going to come and try to steal these cows. Nor do they go to the place for dressing, which means the slaughterhouse, which suggests that in the Rigvedic time, slaughterhouses were known. The cows of the mortal who sacrifices wander far across wide-ranging space, free of fear. This last phrase is so interesting. It suggests that there is this ideal that to have cows and to have them protected so that they are free from fear is a good thing. It's something desirable. Later in the same hymn, this is, where is this? This is hymn 628. So 6th mandala, hymn number 28. Fortune has appeared to me as cows, Indra as cows. The draught of the first soma is cows. Draught means the first drink. Is cows. These cows here, they, O peoples, are Indra. I am just searching with my heart and mind for Indra. Now you wonder, cows, Indra, Soma, searching. Okay, there's some, it's associating desirable principles, we may want to say. You fatten even the thin man. Now the singer of this is addressing the cow. You fatten even the thin man, O cows. You make even one without beauty to have a lovely face. You make the house blessed, O you of blessed speech. Your vigor, your power, is declared loftily in the assemblies. So this is praising cows. This will make a thin man will become healthy. Someone becomes beautiful by cows. How does all of this happen? It's not explained. You of blessed speech, there's very much a connection between cows and speech, the power of speech in the Rig Veda. Okay, enough Rig Veda. Now we go to the Upanishads. I mentioned speech. Okay, I'll read what I explain here. The web of bovine signification in the Rig Veda expands considerably. So signification, that means meanings. And there's a web of meanings related to cows. As cows become associated with speech, especially the poetic speech of Vedic hymns, which are also referred to as mantras, as cows are embodiments of wealth and well-being, rightly pronounced speech facilitates successful sacrificial rites. Okay, so in the Vedic ritual, pronouncing the mantras correctly is considered very important, and that's being associated with cows. If one makes the sacrifice properly by pronouncing the mantras properly, then the priests who do this performance, they will be nicely rewarded. They get dakshina. And what is a major form of dakshina that they receive? Cows. They get cows. And they want cows, because cows are wealth. Indeed, the most basic component of speech, the syllable, called akshara, which means unbreakable or irreducible or inexhaustible. The akshara is identified with cow. And there's a long footnote on that subject. The word pada means a cow's hoof print, and it also means a word in Sanskrit. Okay, enough obscureness. Now we're going to go to something maybe more comprehensible. What is this Swami talking about? Obscure stuff from Rig Veda. He gave a lecture, yeah. What was he talking about? I don't know. Something about some old book and cows. Okay. Now we're going to the Upanishads. And we have two stories. In the Upanishads, there are a lot of narrations which are kind of setups for philosophical discussions. And one of these is where is it? It's in the Chandogya Upanishad. Chandogya. And it's about a young boy whose name is Satyakama Jabala. Satyakama Jabala has a great desire to receive higher knowledge. And as was proper, he approached one respected sage whose name was Haridrumata Gautama. Haridrumata Gautama. That's a story in itself, but I moved to this focus. He accepts him as a student, but in accepting him, he immediately gives him a service as a brahmachari. This is what we all learn. We join the Hare Krishna movement. The brahmacharis. Okay, great. Now, please go in the kitchen and wash the pots. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur made that a test for one, as Prabhupada would say, big professor who came to speak with him. He said, okay, go wash the pots, then we'll talk. First, let's get a little humble. So in this case, Satyakama was given the task to take care of the cows. How many cows? 400. And he should take care of them all himself. And so he readily accepted his service. And he took the 400 cows and he went quite some distance apparently from the ashram, wandering in the forests. It's hard to imagine how he would be able to herd 400 cows alone, but that's what it says. And he said, as he was leaving his guru to take care of the cows, he said, "I'll take care of these cows and I will not return until there are 1,000 cows." Very nice. So he has a project. His preaching is expand the number of cows. It takes some years for this to happen, but when it happens, one of the cows, actually one of the bulls, approaches Satyakama Jabala and speaks to him. These are speaking cows. And he says to him, "We have reached 1,000. Satyakama says, "Okay, it's time to go back to the guru. Let's go." And on his way back, this same bull who was telling him 1,000 cows, he spoke further to Satyakama, and what he spoke was, he told him about Brahman, the absolute, ultimate, supreme, perfect reality. So here we have a cow, a bull, who is teaching about the absolute truth. It says specifically he teaches him 1/4 of Brahman. What does that mean? That's what it says. And on his way back, he gets 3 more lessons, not from the bull, not from the bull. He gets 1 lesson from the fire. Talking fire? Yes, why not? He gets a lesson from the fire, which Satyakama builds in the evening to keep warm one night. He gets another lesson from a kind of bird, some kind of bird. I think actually from a Raja Hamsa, we would say, a swan. And he gets the final lesson from another kind of bird, some sort of crane, I don't know, croncha, but anyway, some water bird. So now he's gotten 4 lessons. He's heard about all 4 of the 4 quarters, whatever that means, of Brahman, the Absolute. And he keeps going back to his guru, and when he arrives at the ashram of his guru, the guru sees him in the distance. He sees Satyakama Jabala, and from a distance, he sees that he is glowing. He is glowing with knowledge. He sees that his disciple already has received the knowledge for which he had come to the guru originally. And where has he gotten the knowledge from? He's gotten it from animals and fire. But what was behind that? What qualified him? He did service for his guru, but what was the service that he did for his guru? He took care of his cows. Yeah. What now we might call go seva, service to the cows. And when he sees his disciple in this state, he's very happy. The guru is very happy. My disciple has learned what is the absolute truth. And the disciple, being not proud, not thinking, oh, I have all the knowledge now, I don't need you actually, Mr. Gautama. No, he didn't say that. He said, please tell me, I want to hear from you what I have heard from the animals. I want confirmation. And the Guru was very happy with that, and he confirmed everything that he had heard before. And in this way, the Lord is taking rest now. Yeah. Or maybe not. Who knows what he's doing at night? Going out and killing demons. Yeah, so that's one story from the Upanishads. It has to do with cows. It's also interesting that the 400 cows that Satyakama initially were given to take care of were they were older cows. They weren't young, so they were. It sort of indirectly says, we talked about this yesterday, that older cows who may not be giving milk and whatever, they're still valuable. They're valuable. Okay. Should I tell the other story that I mentioned from the Upanishads?
Yes, please.
Okay. This is from the Katha Upanishad. Which is considered somewhat later than the Chandogya Upanishad. And this is about another young man. His name is Nachiketas. And Nachiketas is watching. He's observing while his father is giving old cows away in charity. He's observing and he's wondering, what kind of charity is this, to give old cows to someone? That's not very nice, is it? And he kind of challenges his father. Dad, you're giving these old cows away in charity. You think you're going to get some, punya for that or what? So he's kind of nagging his father. His father's busy giving away these cows, and his son, Nachiketas, is coming. His father's name was Ushan. He was giving away old cows. He was also giving other possessions away. So he apparently was in a mood of renunciation. But Nachiketas is thinking, and now I quote, "They've drunk all their water, eaten all their fodder. They have been milked dry. They are totally barren. Joyless, without joy, are those worlds called to which a man goes who gives them as gifts." So he's asking his father, Dad, to whom will you give me? Huh? He's kind of a cheeky kid, apparently. And the father he's getting impatient, he's getting annoyed, because Nachiketa has asked this question not once, not twice, but 3 times. So you can imagine how the father feels, and at one point he blurts out, "I will give you to Yama, to death." Oh, okay. Nachiketas goes and he visits. He's been cursed. He goes to Yama, goes to Yamaraj, goes to his house, knocks on the door. No answer. Because Yamaraj was, they say in India, out of station. He had some business elsewhere. So Nachiketa sits on his doorstep for 3 days. And finally Yamaraj comes back. And Yamaraj is very embarrassed. "You've been waiting for me. I should be here to host you." Mind you, this is Yamaraj, Lord of Death, in hell. And there's all this politeness going on. He says, "I'm really sorry. I will give you 3 benedictions. Tell me what are your 3 wishes?" And Nachiketas has 2 wishes. One is for the well-being of his father. One is that a particular ritual sacrifice will be named after him, Nachiketa. Both of these wishes, Yamaraj says, no problem. 3rd wish is a problem. What's the 3rd wish? He says, "I want to know something." "Yes, what do you want to know?" "I want to know what happens after death." "Oh, that I cannot tell you." "But you've made a promise. You'll give me 3 wishes, and one of them is, this is my wish." Says, "I'll give you anything else. I'll give you a long life. I'll give you wealth. I'll give you palaces. I'll give you many cows." Cows, horses, beautiful wives. He lists so many things he'll give. Nachiketa says, "Nope, no thanks. I'm not interested in all those things." Which means he's not interested in the things which are described as so desirable in the Rig Veda. So we're coming to a whole different perspective. We're coming to a perspective of renunciation. As I've written here, times have changed. The Vedic pastoral way of life fades as towns have grown and social political order has become more complex. Many people leave for the forest. Historians say like this seems to have been what happened. Many people got frustrated with life in the big city and they left. And when they left for the forest, they developed lots of ideas about renunciation. Okay, Hare Krishna. Well, maybe I should stop here and see if you want to comment anything, any reflections. I'm sorry I'm not in the best of shape today, but I'm happy I could be with you for some time. Anything? Any comments about any of this? It's all a bit remote from our usual ways. Yes, Sekanti.
Could you repeat, please? could you explain a little bit more the connection between cows and speech? I didn't know how to understand this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I guess one thing I could do is reread the footnotes that I put on this point, if I can find it. No, that's not so directly explaining this. Well, broadly speaking, maybe an easy way to put it is this, that speech is identified as a goddess. This is one point. Vach, the goddess Vach. She's very powerful. It's understood that speech and mind go together very closely. Thinking, when we think, we usually think in words, and that's one level of speech, silent speech. There's 4 different levels. And speech is very important in the sacrifice. The sacrifice is sort of the center of Brahminical Vedic culture. Why? Because Hare Krishna.
Ingvar.
Vielen Dank. Hare Krishna. Okay. So, das hätte ich nicht erwartet. Okay. Hare Krishna. Yes, so sacrifice is sort of at the center of this society because it's understood this is the special thing that humans do. What do humans are like animals in so many ways: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. With one distinction, what is that? Dharma. And what is Dharma? Dharma is that which is revealed in Veda, which you cannot figure out on your own. You need to receive it. And what's received? Instruction: perform sacrifice. That's the essential message. Perform sacrifice. How to perform sacrifice? Well, get some wood, get some ingredients, get some ghee. And where's the ghee going to come from? It's going to come from the cow's milk. So the cows, it's the essence of the essence. Milk is an essence. The essence of that is ghee. And that's going to be offered in fire. Agni is going to then transport that offering with mantra to the devas, to the gods, who are then going to give their blessings. So it's a circular system. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha agayur indriya ramo mogam partha sajivati mogam. If one is not participating in this system, one's life is wasted, basically, Krishna says. Okay, but then why is mantra so important? It's said that the devas are, in a sense, present in the mantra. And we know this idea, we hear it all the time in the Maha Mantra. Krishna is present. There is non-difference, abhinatva, between Krishna and Krishna's name. So that's why also the pronunciation of mantra was so important. Okay, so, all right, but still, what is that? What is speech, mantra, what does all that have to do with cows? It's never entirely spelled out, as far as I know. It's an association. It's a resonance. It's giving the idea that you think of one thing, it leads you to think of the other thing, which leads you to think of something, a third thing. There's a resonance, a kind of vibration of meanings, of associations. But I think there's one more point, and that is cows do make sounds. What is the sound they make? Moo. And when they're happy, they can really express themselves. When they're disturbed, they can really express themselves. And it's a quite powerful and sort of primordial sound. The joke is, what does the dyslexic cow say? Om, yeah. Okay, forget that one. Yeah, that's about as far as I can say. The idea seems to be to cause one to make these associations that eventually, out of which emerge deeper meaning and deeper significance of one's whole world, one's whole life. We tend to think of, the world as sort of compartmentalized. Our language especially has made this the case. We think this is a harmonium, this is a book. We learn this as small children. What is this? This is a book. Yeah, so what? So the Rig Veda especially, it's a very, very special composition or set of compositions. Yeah, is that okay? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Basha.
Mataji's question reminds me of, I think I heard a couple of days ago that the japa bag, the bead bag, is called in Hindi go mukha, which means the cow's mouth.
Oh.
And I don't know, I didn't understand the relation. Why is it called a go mukha, a cow's mouth? Because it represents wisdom. I don't know if you've heard something like this before.
I haven't heard that about the bead bag being gomukh, but why not? The cow's mouth representing wisdom, that's also something I haven't come across explicitly, but it's quite possible. Cow's mouth is considered purifying. Basically, everything about the cow is considered purifying. I visited one Goshala near Delhi, outskirts of Gurgaon, which is now Gurugram, where they had about 3,000 cows. And I was there some hours. The manager of the Goshala, very, very friendly, very enthusiastic, very helpful, answering my questions. And after some time it became, I don't know, mid-afternoon, maybe toward late afternoon. And I saw people from the town were coming into the Goshala, and they were just circumambulating around the cows. They had the cows in a quite large pen, and they had made arrangements so that people could walk around the cows. And it was just very pleasing to see that this idea is there. Circumambulating is, of course, offering respect, but also there's this idea just being in the proximity of cows is purifying. I mention further in this chapter about cows in the Mahabharata. There's a quite large section in Bhishma Dev's teachings about glories of cows, especially giving them in charity. We'll see, maybe, I don't know if there's going to be a session to talk about that yet. But whatever, we wanted to give a little introduction. Yeah, and anyone who reads English, who's interested in more of this subject, the book is available to download if you have some gizmo to download it onto, and there's no charge. Right. Yes, Sunny.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, thank you for a nice lecture. I just would like to ask, the last pastime you talked about in the Upanishads, I didn't quite understand, how did it end? Did this the boy get this desire fulfilled, or?
Yes, finally Yamaraj agreed to explain what happens after death, and that's what is. All of this is an introduction to the main substance of the Katha Upanishad, in which is explained that the soul is eternal, and some of the verses in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita are almost exactly the same as in the Katha Upanishad. Yeah. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, na chainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati maruta. So, like that, the soul cannot be destroyed. So there are a lot of stories in the Upanishads where the teacher is hesitant to give his teaching initially. You have to you have to do something or do a lot to get it out. So this is in some ways a typical Upanishadic narrative. But yes, it has a happy ending that we find out what happens after death. And all of that is nicely explained by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, which is sometimes therefore called the Gita-upanishad. I can see you're all excited about knowing that. Okay, so I guess we can end there for today. Tomorrow's another day. Yeah. Thank you all very much. And tomorrow should be an exciting day. Srila Prabhupada